Hello, this is Christine with a Naturally Balanced Dog, and I am really excited. Today I have Michelle Allen from Monkey's House, who is the guest today, and we are going to be talking about nutrition and supplements for senior dogs. To get us started, what I wanted to do is first welcome you, Michelle. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm really kind of excited to learn about your your business and what it is that you do. And I think that anybody who who's in rescue or anything of that nature, doing what you do is got to be doing this because it is something that is in your heart. It's kind of like one of those things. I'm sure it's very difficult at times to do, but the love of what it is that you're doing is what drives you. So maybe you can share with everybody about yourself and about Monkey's House and how you got started.
Thank you so much. I'm Michelle Allen, co-founder of Monkey's House, a dog hospice and sanctuary. We have been doing this since 2015. Prior to that, we were fostering dogs, and the way things change your life, you weren't expecting it. We got a dog with a brain tumor that was in the dying process. And in traveling her journey with her, it brought us to where we are now. And you can't just open a nonprofit, especially when you're going to pull dying dogs from shelters without a lot of prep and without having a lot of questions answered beforehand. Hospice dogs are my passion. Managing their health and their wellness is something I'm very good at. Discovering nutrition is what set me on fire and fueled everything to get this going. And it's been an incredible journey.
And so maybe you can kind of share a little bit more in detail how you got started. So you started with a single dog, and maybe just kind of clarify the sanctuary and what type of dogs do you have that come to you? How do you come to get these dogs? How do they come into your sanctuary and into your possession and into your love bubble?
Right. So my husband and I have had dogs all of our lives. And around 2010, we started fostering for local shelters and rescues. And they found out that I was a nurse and I was willing to deal with medical cases. And then the phone never stopped ringing. So we started talking. You don't want to say no. You don't want to say no. So we started thinking about how could we do this on a larger scale, especially if we were willing to do the heavy lifting, so to speak. And that took us on about a 5-year journey. I worked with a behaviorist. I hooked up with a veterinarian, Dr. Judy Morgan, who's a veterinary nutritionist. And it just took on a life of its own when we had a foster dog named Monkey that he fit the model of what we were looking for. He was a shelter dog that was abandoned, that was in congestive heart failure. This was kind of before GoFundMe's. This is before a lot of things. And he needed a cardiologist. He needed medications. The shelter veterinarian said no, and I wasn't going to stop there. So I adopted him, and he had 17 incredible months with us. His death was really hard for Jeff and myself to process. They're all special, but Monkey was sent to us, I think, for another purpose. And I set up the Facebook page to honor him, and it was just set private for my husband and myself. And we had been talking about it all this time. But I went to my vet, who's a holistic veterinarian at the time, and I said, "Hey, what do you think?" And she said, "Oh, sure, I'm 100% on board. Let's get this done." Next thing I knew, there was 2 dogs coming up from Tennessee from a friend of hers. and then it was kind of like, let the games begin. They came quickly, and I had to learn how to say no. For the most part, the dogs come from shelters. For the most part, the dogs come locally. Not that I won't help dogs from out of state, but the kind of dogs we pull don't travel well. They don't ship well. really aren't going to do well on a plane. So it's just easiest if I help the ones that are local.
Right.
We pull dogs from shelters that have terminal diagnoses. One had a 15-pound mass on her side, clearly an issue. Most of the dogs have heart issues, cancers, they're blind and deaf, they're diabetic, and generally they have a combination of 2 or 3 or 4 of
Different things going on.
Yes, yes.
And so do you have fosters, or do you have it all under one roof? Like all of your dogs, like how many dogs do you have in at a time?
We have quarantine fosters. When the dogs leave the shelters, our dogs are sick to begin with. They're immunocompromised and they've been stressed. Generally, they get sick at these shelters, kennel cough, bad kennel cough, pneumonia. So I send them to a foster home off-site for about 2 weeks to just kind of get the nasty bugs out of their system. And then they come here. If the fosters get first dibs, if they want to forever foster the dog, they have that option under our tutelage. We do have forever fosters, but the bulk of the dogs are here on site.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, as I said, I mean, what a tremendous undertaking that it is, and just such a heart-filled passion for dogs, and obviously the love that you and your husband share, and the other fosters and whatnot. So maybe you can kind of help share a little bit of, what you do. But one of the questions that I would have is, like, where does nutrition rank for you when it comes to the wellness of these animals?
Nutrition is key. I mean, to say it's the foundation of life sounds so cliche. It's everything. It's everything. When I switched from kibble to home cooked, the difference I saw in my dogs was incredible. And then
when you say your dogs, you mean your personal dogs, or you mean the dogs that are in foster that you're caring for?
I think our big revelation was in our backfield one night. And I think we had 9 dogs, and I think 6 of them were ours. And we always adopted older dogs and special need dogs. I think 6 were ours and 3 were fosters. And, they were all over the age of 10, some over the age of 15. One was in a cart, all with significant heavy hitter diagnoses. And they were being bad. They looked like kindergartners who missed recess and had to get stuff out of their system. And we were just looking at ourselves, and we had been feeding home cooked for about 2 weeks at that point. And we just looked at ourselves and said, my goodness, this is the fountain of youth. And it was things that you wouldn't think you could change. And like, how do you get a dog to play bow? An old dog to play bow. How do you get an old dog to carry a Frisbee around like they used to when they were younger? Little things that just say, hey, I feel great. I love life. Let's get moving, human. I mean, it's incredible. And from there, we worked with Dr. Judy Morgan, who she works all kinds of amazing magic, but really taught me about traditional Chinese medicine, food therapy. So it's energetics, it's understanding it from a Chinese standpoint. And to say I understand it, I'm a neophyte in that world, but it's fascinating what I can do using food to help dogs with health issues. And
so can you, you get these dogs in that are older dogs coming from shelters. Most likely they have not been cared for in the same sense, obviously, without, saying, I mean, they're ending up in a shelter in these conditions, which generally, they don't have a long life cycle there. Mm-hmm. But, most likely they were not, again, cared for in the same. Can you switch the dog's diet at that age? I mean, because what are the ages that you're getting them in? I'm imagining 6 or 7 years old, up or down or whatever. And so if they've been on kibble that whole entire time, can you switch a dog that late and notice nutritionally difference in their overall health and well-being.
Yeah, absolutely. When the dogs come, I don't have much of a history of anything, and I certainly don't know what they ate. But even if I did, I would make the switch. If I'm not sure about their organ function, if things are looking a little concerning, I wait till the blood work comes back from our vet, and if we need to do an abdominal ultrasound or anything, I'll start there. And up to then, they're on homemade cooked. They're on cooked food, lightly cooked food, and once the blood work comes in, if I feel like the liver's good, if the pancreas is good, then we'll switch to raw. And I know a lot of people switch over time. We switch at dinner or we switch at breakfast. And it's served us well. It's served the dogs very, very well.
And so do you home prepare these meals, or are these things that you're buying as like pre-mades and stuff like that? Or are they like, are you home preparing it like from scratch?
Yes, it depends on the dog and it depends on the situation. So I DIY from scratch. Not, I mean, the rabbit comes cubed. I'm not skinning a rabbit. But I'll start, but I'll DIY from scratch. We're also blessed to work with an incredible high-end raw dog company that is incredibly generous to us, and they ship us 60 pounds of food every single week, and then we order probably another 120 on top of that they sell to us at a discount. They're tremendous. They've been donating like this to us since 2015, and it makes it easy. They have different proteins, so I can rotate through, and I can add in some veggies or take some things out. But it's really ideal since we're always feeding an army here.
Yeah. Now, are there things that you have to worry about? Like, for example, based on sometimes your older dogs and fat content and pancreatitis and, switching a dog to raw, sometimes obviously the transition, sometimes the transition goes well and sometimes you kind of got to back it up and start over. But when you're creating these meals, are you working from a recipe? And how is that taking place? Because you've got so many dogs. I imagine they all have like an individual. I have 3 dogs. And so I guess my point here is I have 3 dogs, of which 2 have different allergies and different conditions. And therefore, when I'm preparing food, I got to tweak my meals for this dog to be able to do this. I've got this dog that's got to do this, and I got an older dog. And so how are you managing all of those dogs as you're doing your food prep?
Yeah. Well, first off, as far as pancreatitis is concerned, that's why I wait for blood work to come back and an abdominal ultrasound if it's needed, and just to see how I feel about the dog. You can always go to raw, but my experience is that raw fat is not what causes pancreatitis. We use an awful lot of coconut oil here, MCT oil, virgin coconut oil.
Oops.
And is that okay?
Yeah, there you are. Sorry.
All right.
We got MCT oil, and then you blooped.
Oh, sorry for the bloop, guys. I didn't even know I could do that. But MCT oil is a big mainstay here at a house full of seniors. It really helps with their cognitive function. So I don't worry about it. If I have a dog that has skipped a meal, the next meal is cooked, but it's lightly cooked at a low temperature. And I'm quick to get on the phone with the vet. We'll get lab work if we need it. We have things to help with nausea, but I really don't have a problem per se with pancreatitis. I may have an issue with one dog here and there, but we don't really have a problem here with pancreatitis at all.
Yeah, that's good to know. I think one of the things that maybe might be a fallacy or out there is raw food, fat content, equals dog diarrhea in when it comes to pancreatitis. And so it's good to hear that that you can change at any age. and then get them onto a raw diet, and you definitely see improvement. Do you think that actually creates a longer lifespan for them, even though they're coming in with these ailments and things like that? Changing their diet, do you think it's actually adding some longevity there?
I know it does. I know it adds longevity, and I know it adds quality. What's really neat is that you can walk in my house and you can't tell who's really acute and who's not. And that's really a gift that food gives them. And I used to think, well, what's so magic about your food? You know what I mean? There's nothing magic about it. The magic is what's not in it. It's just regular food. You if you separated it out, you could identify everything. You wouldn't have to look anything up. You wouldn't have to say, well, is that a byproduct? And I ask myself, I ask people to look at ingredients and make sure you can see it in your head and see what it would look like on a plate. Because what does pea protein look like on a plate? You have to.
It's a powder, because I see it at the health food store. Pea protein comes in a powder form, and you mix it in your, in your milk or your shake.
Yeah, if it doesn't look like a radish, or if it doesn't look like something you can say, oh yes,
right. Yeah. And so with that being said, as you're preparing these meals for each of the dogs, obviously they probably have some individual things that they need. What about supplements? What type of supplements? Where are you at with, do you feel that, do you supplement each of their meals, or is it just straight raw, and you feel that your recipe gives them all of the nutrients that they need, or are you adding supplements to help balance things out?
We add supplements here. I think when dogs are younger and in great health, eating a very balanced raw diet is really all that their body needs, unless you have concerns or they're genetically predisposed to something. But once they're here, they have cancer, they have heart disease, they have lung disease, they have problems with their liver, they have diabetes, they have kidney failure. So once they're here, they need something more than what they can get from a good diet. So we do supplement. And I would say, if you said, what's the best supplement ever? For the moment, for right now, I would have to say it's a fish-based omega-3, a well-sourced fish-based omega-3. And all of our dogs are on it except for one who is allergic. And we have tried all kinds of things for her. She's got ongoing issues, so it's a challenge for us. So I would say that's our biggest supplement that we go through, and it's every day. Some of our dogs who have really advanced heart disease, really advanced kidney disease, they're on it twice a day. Our dogs with cognitive disorders are on it twice a day. So that's a big deal here. We just got done talking about oils, but coconut oil is another big deal here. So it's MCT oil in the morning to get their brains going, and then the virgin coconut oil, or the solid stuff, in the evening. And from there, it's then more customized. So dogs that have kidney issues are on other supplements that are supportive. And what's really fascinating that I've learned is that I can get a dog from the shelter who is in IRIS stage 3 kidney failure, and in changing their diet and giving them supplements to support their kidneys, their blood work will start to normalize. We're not curing anything. We're not fixing anything. You can support the body to function well. And that's all that matters. That's all that matters. And so I can have a dog that's in IRIS stage 2 or IRIS stage 3, which a lot of veterinarians call kidney failure, and they kind of say, like, game up. I can have them here for years. So if you said, this is my dog's kidney values, what do you think? I'll say, well, they're not sick enough to come here. I mean, it's something that you can manage. And it blows me away that a lot of this stuff is accessible locally. A lot of the stuff you can grow in your own garden, you can pick out of your own yard. It's incredible.
Yeah, I'm a big dandelion person. I live on the back of, I have a field behind me where that never gets sprayed. It doesn't get the over sprayed from other people's yard and stuff like that. And so come spring, I'm always out there trying to get all the fresh, new leaves, dandelions. I'm pulling them out. I get big buckets full and bring them and wash them up. And actually, I have one dog. I don't spray my yard, obviously, with any chemicals or anything like that. But the dandelions that grow in the yard, she literally digs them out to eat the root.
Wow.
And she'll just I don't have to weed because she weeds all the dandelions for me. But to me, that tells me that's something that she needs. So one of the reasons that I go out and I get all that is then I come home and then dehydrate it, and then I grind up all the root and stuff like that. Then I have the greens and the roots that I can kind of add into her diet periodically throughout the throughout the year. So she's not totally at a loss during the during the winter seasons and stuff like that. But so when you're using supplements, is there a kind of like when you're evaluating the supplements that you use, do you tend to follow whole food supplements, or is that an important piece for you?
Whole food supplements are very important to me. It's other, when things get synthetic or chemically, it tends to not be enough of a benefit. It seems to me that things that are more whole food based are much more of a benefit to the dogs.
I think it's more usable also for the dogs. And I think synergistically from a plant's perspective, kind of you get the whole plant and its medicinal qualities as well, as opposed to, which is always interesting, guys. I used to work in the health field. And one of the things that I learned that I thought was interesting is, when we talk about the, fish oils, we only talk about omega-3 and omega-6. Occasionally the omega-9 comes up, but there's actually a long strand of that, which is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, of the omegas that, but when they're creating these fish oils, they're actually kind of doing the isolates of these two particular ones to kind of create that. And I don't think that people realize that. And I think there's only one, there might be more than one, but there's one that I think of as, I think it was Garden of Life or one of those manufacturers that actually has the whole omega. So you get the full strand of omegas, which are really beneficial. So certainly. And so, yes, supplements are, so for your guys, and I think for dogs that are seniors, I think one of the things that we see more frequently is, liver and kidney issues. And so supportive supplements that you're using, what are some of the brands that you particularly use?
We use a lot of Dr. Harvey's. We use Mercola's. We use the RX company. We use a lot of Dr. Tobias. We rotate through, and I'm always evaluating how are they doing, how are they acting, what's changed since the last time. And I'm pretty adamant. I may have 4 bottles of something, but I'll use 1 bottle, put it aside, and then go to the next brand, so that I'm not using necessarily the same things all of the time. I'm so supportive.
Do you find rotating your supplements is kind of a good way to kind of keep in check with things? So it's kind of like rotating your diet. I rotate my personal supplements as well. Not just for the dogs, but yes. And so this has really all been really great information. And so you feel that adding a fresh diet at any age, irregardless of their health conditions or based on what the blood work, does that give way, I guess, clarify, if the blood work suggests anything, you still put them on a fresh diet, it just might be cooked versus raw.
Absolutely.
Yeah, primarily.
So
that doesn't change
in the house, right? There's no kibble in the house.
Gotcha.
And we start uncooked until further notice. And if
Gotcha.
I'm worried about kidneys, I start supporting kidneys right away.
Right, with supplementary and
With bone
or
broth, with whatever I need. Yeah.
right, gotcha. And so, so starting a healthy nutritional diet, fresh diet, whether it be cooked and or raw, again, depending upon the dog's condition, I think sometimes that plays a part into deciding whether it's raw or fresh. And then certainly having supplements that are supportive to your dog's health conditions based on whole health. And so one of the things, I went onto your website just to kind of check it out. First of all, I got a comment on the singing, dancing dogs. Where did that come up from? That is hysterical. I wish I could share that, but people got to go to your website to just check that out. Where'd you find that?
So those are that was a parody that my husband wrote, and those dogs had all lived here at one point and were great characters in our life. And he had just come out with a coffee table book, and it's called "Life is a Dog Bone, Chew It All Day Long," and that's what the song is. Life is a dog bone, and
it's hysterical. So
fun.
if anybody has a chance, you're going to have to go to the website. And yeah, the book is beautiful. But when I was looking at that, I clicked on it and I just happened to see the dogs jamming out.
Yep.
Singing that song.
It was really emotional. You know, we sent them pictures of the dogs and we told them what their personalities were like. And then to see it brought to life like that was very emotional for me.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So also on the website, you can find some things that you could do to help support Monkey's House, which is a sanctuary for dogs. And so you have that people can donate. And so for those of you who use Amazon like myself, you have the smile so they can go ahead and find you, which I did find you for that. So I got to be honest with you, I use Amazon all the time and I've never plugged in to anybody to have that donation done. And then you have a donation for supplies, which I think is really cool. So you have a nice little list of things that you utilize for your guys there.
Yes.
And what I liked about that was it tells you how many you have and how many you need. And so for anybody who wants to do any shopping for you, they can go ahead and donate. Actually, you've got a nice supply list of not only supplements, but it looked like you had some doggy diapers and some other things as well.
Yeah.
So that's a great thing for anybody who wants to, connect. First, I highly recommend everybody going onto the website, checking it out, and certainly finding those dancing dogs, because you got to be able to put that someplace. It's hysterical.
Thank you.
Yes. And so anybody who, I first like to thank everybody for joining us today. So again, thank you so much, Michelle. And for anybody who doesn't know who I am, my name is Christine, and I am the food specialist at A Naturally Balanced Dog. You can visit my website where you will find hundreds of recipes that you could begin making for your dogs today that are fresh and or cooked. Certainly, we also offer food and environment intolerance testing, which includes heavy metals and nutritional panels. And so you can visit us at A Naturally Balanced Dog. And for anybody who is on our Facebook, please give us a like so that you can come every Wednesday at 5:45. I have a guest that is invited. And next week, we have coming, Krista Powell from Vibrant Canine, and we'll be talking about inflammation and cancer. She'll be sharing her experiences with her dogs that had cancer and some of the things that she was able to do to help through that process and be able to share. Come February, we've got some really great people that we're going to be joining me. One will be Amy Snow from Tallgrass Institute of Animal Acupressure. And so I'm looking forward to that. We'll be talking about food energetics. So something that you kind of mentioned a little bit earlier. So she'll be a guest in February. And anyways, thank you very much. And we'll see you all next week. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.